and let's dive in. Please know that you do have access to the chat box if you'd like to leave any comments or engage with us here this morning. Welcome to week 3. Oh my goodness, of the Design Your Best Year 21-day challenge. I am so excited to have you here with me and everybody else in our community on this incredible journey. I hope that you are having a positive experience, and I have so much more to share with you in our short time together today. So let's dive in. So week number 3. Oh my goodness, welcome back. You are on the home stretch of this challenge, but certainly not the home stretch of your year that you have ahead. And I couldn't be more excited for each and every one of you to be going into 2022 with a vision, with some clarity, and with some amazing intentions. If you have been able to stick with the challenge on a daily basis, congratulations. I can only imagine how much you've learned about yourself along the way, how many ahas have stuck out for you, or maybe even moments of, and that's all good. And if perhaps life has gotten in the way and you've fallen off just a little bit, that's okay too. How human of you. I would encourage you to keep going. Remember that even the smallest of actions, the smallest of inspired steps that you can take forward each day will help you on your journey to living your legacy and designing a life and a year that is special and important and speaks to you. So today together, we're going to talk about the 3 key elements as we begin to wrap up this challenge. We're going to discuss and dive into, okay, I have all this insight from the past, 14 onward days. How do I take that information and start to design? What does that actually look like? And we'll talk a little bit about how to make sure that you're infusing and creating your design in a holistic, whole person manner. And we'll also be talking a lot about making sure that your design encompasses all of those key learnings that we've had throughout this challenge, including all of those facets of your life that are so important for us to have true balance when we were doing our wheel of life. And when we're talking about our values, that's going to come into play in that design phase. We're also going to touch on, okay, so once I've created it, how do I support it? What are the tools and strategies that I can start to employ so that I can actually truly do and live what I've designed? Because that's often what catches us up. It's not having an idea of what we want. We know what we want, and we know how to get there. It's just taking that first step and taking those actions. And so that is all about finding the tools and strategies that speak specifically to you so that you can support it, supporting it with routines and habits, supporting it perhaps with some more practice around self-appreciation and self-love, building in some accountability, building in commitment, building in celebration. All of those things have to be a part of your design and support strategy. And of course, lastly, we'll dive into how can I live it? And sometimes we get stuck in that big picture, big, crazy, audacious goal. And we forget that it's really about taking one small inspired action at a time, and celebrating our ability and our choice to do that, and celebrating our choices to perhaps take a step in a direction that we didn't want to go, but that truly serves us. Because it's in those decision points, those areas and times of choice, where we really learn the power that we have over the direction of our life. And we all have defaults. And so often the biggest catalyst for change is recognizing those defaults, saying thank you to our previous self for getting us this far, and choosing a new path. So let's do a quick check-in this morning. And again, if you've got access to the chat, please feel free to drop a note to everybody or to me directly. Think about where you are today in this moment. What energy are you bringing into this space that we have together? Take a deep breath and embrace the moment here and now that you are in. And then we're going to pause and think about, I can't believe it, but it's like the end of the first month of this year. We are coming in toward the end of January. 4 weeks, 28 days of actions and choices. So how are you experiencing your life so far in this year? And again, the question that we always go back to after that is a bit of a reality check. How would I like to be experiencing my life so far this year? And if those two aren't the same, if my experience isn't what I want to be experiencing, then we need to dive into what could you be doing to begin to experience your life the way you want. What could you be doing in your life? What could you begin to do in your life to experience your life the way you want? That is the crux of how we experience our life. It's the mindset that we go into our life with. It's giving ourselves those opportunities for reflection, for checking back to see where we're actually at. Oh, I love that. Thank you for sharing, Kim. That's incredible. You feel like you're vibrating, but it could be either way, into awesomeness or spinning your wheels and maybe a little bit of chaos. But I want you to really hone in on that vibrational energy. Not everybody is attuned to that. Some people may have a different word or a different language to explain that sort of vibration. I personally love the word vibration, but for some people it's an energy. It's that feeling that you have. Maybe it's in your heart, maybe it's in your gut. And it's sort of that nervous energy, right? That we often equate to those nerves when we're anticipating change. And often it's how we interpret it up here, because any emotion is going to trigger our mind to take action on, to assess it and decide how we're going to behave because of that emotion or that feeling. All emotions or feelings are filtered through What I like to think about is that little dinosaur brain, that fight, flight, or freeze kicks in to assess it, to make sure that we're safe. That's the only job that it has. And so it's our job to take a breath and to say, yeah, like I've got some of this nervous energy. And think about a time when that nervous energy has served you well. Think about the possibility of what could come from that nervous energy. Give that nervous energy a positive name and a positive spin, because that will allow that little guy or little girl who's afraid and wants to keep you safe all of the time to pause and take a break. And it will allow that other part of your brain, the analytical, logistical planner, to say, thank you for flagging that for me. This is what I'm going to do with it. And it will allow you to choose from a space and a place that serves you, which is, again, so magical. So I want you for just a moment to think to yourself, what if everything that I've dreamed of for this year, what if everything that I've designed for this year manifested? What if I designed and lived my best year ever? What if? Let the magic and the art of possibility shower over you. Let it sink in. Let your brain shift to belief first, as opposed to doubt first. Let your brain gravitate to what is possible. Let yourself believe before you doubt. Let yourself be present and enjoy each and every moment that gets you there. Focus on your why. Focus on how it's going to feel when you arrive, as opposed to always gravitating to the how. We are driven, many of us as human beings, to be the doers. It's my job to get from point A to point B. And so I have this nervous energy, and I know that there's possibility for incredibleness, for awesomeness. And instead of just sinking into that and saying, wow, yes, imagine what's possible, and saying, I can do this, we have that negative Nelly. I'm dating myself with that, but we have this sort of negative persona in our brains as well, that mean girl, if you will, that will always tell us what we can't do. That voice in our head that will say, sure, but how? Let go of the how, let go of the yeah buts, let go of that mean girl. She is not serving you. Hone in on the possibility and always answer her back with, what if? which leads us to our intentions. What if, oops, wrong direction. What if I found success? But before we can find success, we actually have to be able to define it. And sure, you can Google it, but a Google definition isn't going to speak to your heart. A Google definition may or may not even speak to your brain. A Google definition is likely to not speak to your gut, to your soul. I want you to be able to clearly define what success means to you. What does it mean to you? What does it look like? What does it feel like? What does it sound like? For those goals and milestones that you're percolating on for this year, for each and every one of those spokes of your wheel of life, what does success look like? How will I know if I'm successful in my relationship with my significant other? How do I define that for myself? What does success look like in my relationships with my family and my friends? What does it feel like? How do I define success? Because that's what's going to give me those touch points and those milestones, or, in a business language, it would be what actually drives our key performance indicators, right? It sets the goals because I have a clear picture of what success looks like. You already know how you want to show up because you've done that work. But what does success look like? How will you know if you've achieved what it is you're looking for? You have to be able to define it so that you can know when you've gotten there, and more importantly, when you get to celebrate it. So spend some time this week thinking about what success looks like to you. How do you define it in your life in general? But then again, also add to that, how do you define it in each of those areas of your life, which are so vital? And that will lead you to beginning to set some really key intentions. Most of this challenge has been about diving in to you for you. So that first piece in terms of what are your intentions for your relationship with yourself? And yes, please recognize that it is a relationship. And like all relationships, we need to invest in it. So for you as a whole person, mind, body, spirit, or soul, you need to be able to invest into each of those components to show yourself some love, to show yourself some appreciation, to take care of yourself. And that is always your first priority. Because until you are whole, until you have a full cup, until you love yourself and know that you are more than enough, there is no open door for others to do the same. Setting some intentions for the relationship that you want to have with your significant other, for family and friends, more specifically for yourself, that physical and mental health, finances, personal growth, and your fun and recreation. all of the foundational pieces to the hierarchy of needs that we have as human beings need and deserve some love and attention. So take a look at that list and reflect on just this past week or just yesterday. Which one of those areas could get 1 or 2 tick boxes? I did an inspired something toward this. And reflect on where those tick boxes are and where they are not. Because that is how you start to make different, better choices. That's how you get to decide and choose your own adventure. That's how you learn to come home to yourself, by making that relationship with yourself a priority. So then I want you to reflect on, right, the values work that you've done on this journey. And if you haven't quite dove into that piece yet, that's okay. You'll get there. Commit to it. Then you're going to see how each of your values, one of your challenges today or this week in the space and time that you can create for yourself, is to look at and reflect on how your values impact your relationships with each of those components from our wheel of life. And what I've found is that for many, it's the relationship with ourself that we forget to pull those values and those non-negotiables into. But look at how your values are going to impact your relationship with yourself, with your loved ones, your finances, your personal growth and development, and how much fun are you having? Take a moment. Like, that's a big one I'm finding, especially now. We are in like crisis chaos mode almost 24/7. Whether we know it or not, whether we feel it or not, this pandemic has many of us spinning. And life itself has a way of creating these topsy-turvy moments. How much fun are you having in your life? How much time in your day could you say that you are truly living? Not being an automation and just doing. I have a list of to-dos and I'm just going to do it on autopilot, almost like a robot. Versus how much time are you experiencing life? Are you living it boldly, beautifully? How many hours in a day are you actually living? And imagine the shift that you could make in your mindset and the added energy and vibrations that you could create if your primary goal every day when you woke up was to truly live. So let's talk about how you take all of your aha moments, all of those epiphanies, all of that data and information that you've been pouring into your journal or that you've been reflecting and percolating on. How do I start to actually make that work for me, to serve me? Remember, first and foremost, that designing your best life is a one day at a time, 1 hour at a time, one moment at a time venture. It happens progressively, slowly over time. Here's the other thought that I would love for you to hold on to, because I feel like many of us have had so many starts and stops over the last 2 years. But in life, we've also had starts and stops. We've made a goal, we've started working towards it, life happens, the excuses start, and we decide that now is just not the time. What if you flipped it? One of my favorite authors, who you might be familiar with, more from his very pivotal TED Talk, Lollipop Leadership, Drew Dudley, speaks about leadership as day one leadership. And I love that, not only because we often, if we're thinking about a work environment, your first day is often the most informative. You go through your trainings and your orientations, people take the time to interact with you, they hold your hand, they walk you through things. If you're the leader, you carve out the time to make sure all of those elements happen. The first day of the last goal that you set for yourself, you were likely all in 100%. And so Drew Dudley speaks to every day as being day one. Every day is a do-over, yes, but it's also an opportunity for us to look at and treat every day as a new day filled with possibility. A day for you to choose to take just one inspired action toward your goals, to do just one small thing to feed the relationship you have with yourself, to do just one small thing to feed your relationships with any one of the other elements in that wheel of life. Notice that I didn't say one action for every single spoke of the wheel. No. One for you minimum every day. And one for one of the other spokes of your wheel every day. And it doesn't have to be a big thing. So when we think about planning that day, when we think about beginning to design, the thing we need to remember about design is that what works for me as a tool or as a strategy may not work for you. And that's okay. The challenge for you over the next couple of months may actually be finding what tools and strategies speak to you and resonate with you and level up your vibration. What tools and strategies serve you are the ones that you're actually going to use. I'm going to share some of my personal hacks with you. But if this is something that you sort of go off on your own and start to explore and you're still not quite sure, there's so much research out there to help you find things, but also as a life and leadership coach, that's kind of my wheelhouse. One of the things that I pride myself on in my coaching is figuring out with you what makes you tick and finding those tools and strategies that will serve you, those ones that you are actually going to use. So the first thing you need to do as you're starting to think about planning a day, right? We talked about this life is going to be designed one day at a time. So how you map out and strategize your day is going to play a role. You're going to need to know first and foremost what your love language is, what fuels you up and fires you up. What is your learning style? What's your personality style? Because if you try to create a day plan that doesn't suit your style or serve you, then it's not going to work. I like process. I love organization. I actually need to block in playtime because if I don't, I won't. Whereas others need to flow through their day. They need to have that ability to go where the energy takes them. So you need to understand what's going to serve you best. And some of the ways to help you get there will be thinking about some of these key things. What time do you wake up? When you wake up, how much energy do you have? Are you a morning person? Are you an afternoon person? Like, when in the day does your energy like totally bubble over? And because that's going to be where you likely have the best time, the best capacity to dive into some of your priorities. What time do you go to bed? How many hours do you have between the up and the down? We all have the same 24 hours. But not all of us have the same space within that 24 hours. Some of the choices we make might be a little challenging. And I would encourage you to try some things that maybe don't initially feel comfortable to see if, oh, actually, this does work for me. Might be a possibility. What I love to ask people is, within those hours of your day, where are you currently investing time? Okay. So how many hours are spent at work? How many of those hours are spent in family routines with your children, right? So we have to get through our routines, up, showered, dressed, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But then we also have time doing that with our children. Up, showered, dressed, make the food, feed the food, put it away, right? All of those pieces eat up those valuable hours. And often I will hear, I just don't have time. So once you map out a day and you have an idea of where your time is currently going, I want you to reflect back on where you want to invest time. And as we said before, you need to be at the top of that list. So I want you to be able to block out time just for you. Time for you, not for your side hustle, not for anything other than fun, recreation, self-care, self-love, all of those fun things. Important things. You need to block that time out. You need to show yourself that you are worthy of investing that time. So you need to create your plan for your day with your values and life priorities front and center. And then you need to remind yourself again that it's those small inspired actions that are going to add up. If you had 1 hour to yourself each day, how would you invest it? Fantastic question to reflect on. If I had 1 hour all to myself, no responsibilities to anybody but myself, what would I do with it? What things would I choose to do? Hone in on how good it would feel to you to be able to enjoy those things. See the value in gifting yourself that time. Look back at where you've invested your time elsewhere and make some decisions. Are there things I can delegate? Are there things I can let go of? Could I carve out some time before my day starts? Could I carve out some time before my day ends? And if 1 hour seems too daunting for you to start, then I would encourage you to try 15 minutes. But you have to commit to start somewhere. Yes, Kim, I love your comment that when you overplan your day and then don't accomplish everything, you feel guilty. 100%. One of my favorite tips and tricks is a reverse engineered day. If you have clarity on what your key milestones and goals are, and you're committed to take just one inspired action toward it, one for you and one for another aspect of your life, I think you'd be surprised. Many people get lost in the to-do shuffle, in the to-do anxiety, in the to-do guilt. I would encourage you to spend some time then at the end of your day to do a little journaling or just simple self-reflection. And instead of starting your day with a to-do list, end your day with an accomplishment list, or what I like to call a to-done list. I think you might surprise yourself with how many things you did accomplish in your day. No, they may not have been things that were on your original list, but perhaps, just maybe, there was good quality value in those and that they should be celebrated. Flip the script. Stop being so hard on yourselves. Take some time to breathe, to pause, to celebrate where you are and what you have accomplished. Knock that mean girl, that judgmental girl off your shoulder. Kick her out of the headspace that she's taken up residence in. Choose instead to take a look at what you have accomplished, where you have been, and celebrate that instead. One of the ways that I like to take a look at my overall life is, after I've sort of planned my key days, is to take a look at what does that look like weekly. And for some of my clients, the day to the week to the month, quarter, and year is a nice progression for building. I have others, myself included, which actually reverse engineer that as well. I like to take a look at my year first, put those big milestones in, and break it down months and then into my weeks. However you do it, the philosophy or the principles remain the same. It's taking a look at, okay, what are the big rocks? What are the big things that I need to plot in here first? If you work Monday to Friday, then that takes a big chunk of hours Monday to Friday. If the kids have activities on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we know that family is crucial and it's part of our wheel of life. And we want to invest in our children's lives and experiences. So that's a non-negotiable. That ends up going in there. The problem often is that we keep putting everything else before ourselves. Which is why if you've looked at that day closely and mapping that out, then you'll realize that you can carve out 15 minutes, half an hour, 1 hour for you every day. And maybe your 1 hour is a half hour in the morning, a little mini me break sometime in the afternoon, and another chunk of time as you're winding down yourself before you go to bed. And then you get to decide, what does that look like? What fills my cup that I can do in those time chunks? Where does the play come? How many days a week do you actually allow yourself to play? And where could that or should that best fit in your life? Planning out your week. And it can be as simple as Post-it notes. When you're building out those weekly priorities, you have to lean on those values and your intentions, because you need to choose to invest in what is most important to you. You get to then review some of those bigger plans. Consider what your yearly goals are that you've set for yourself, so that you can take those small increment actions toward those goals. Review any monthly priorities that you have. Build that into your weekly strategy. And of course, any appointments or events that you need to plan around. And some of those appointments and some of those events, evaluate them. Take the time to say, yes, this serves me, or no, this doesn't. Choose carefully what you decide to take on. When somebody asks you something, it's okay for there to be silence and a pause, so that you have time and space to ask yourself, does this serve me? Does this serve my vision? Is this leading to my best life, my best year ever? And if the answer is no, lean in. Lean into learning to say no. For some of you who do like lists, then you can make that detailed list. But I would encourage you to reset your priorities after you have the list. For me, list making is often about a brain dump so that I don't forget anything. But from that list, I am strategic. I highlight the difference between what is needed to be accomplished and what I would like or want to accomplish. And I will star, prioritize, or move items from my laundry list of things to do to my top priority. For a week, no more than 3 top priorities. 3 priorities in a week. You have 7 days to accomplish your 3 top priorities. Right? Design some action steps so that you can build it into your schedule. So yes, you can create a to-do list if that serves you, but figure out which of your priority tasks you are going to do on that day. And there are some good strategies out there to help you also group some similar work, which will allow you to be more efficient and more productive. And remember that there's a difference between busyness and productiveness. And here's where it really all sits. When you are at work, be at work. When you are at home, be at home. When you're with your significant other, be with them. When you have you time, be with you. In order to live a fulfilling and rewarding life, it is vital that you stay focused on what is in front of you in that moment of time. When you're at work, you need to stay focused on the current task that you're doing at work. If you're having a meeting with somebody, be all in with that meeting because you're investing in that person. When you're cuddling with your children on the couch, be all in. Slow it down. For you to be a successful spouse or significant other, you have to be focused on loving and supporting that person. For you to have a successful relationship with yourself, you must be focused on loving and supporting yourself. For us to be successful with anything, we have to be present and focused and committed to investing in it. You now know what you value most. You have clarity on the type of life that you want to design. Now you need to live each day in alignment with that vision, in alignment with your values. And to do that, you get to choose to schedule your days, your weeks, your months, and your year around what you value most. It's your job. It's your gift to live with passion and choose to live your legacy. Live it every single day. Oops. Really, the goal is up to you. If we want to have more living in our lives, it's up to you to choose you, to decide to live the kind of life you want on your terms. Nobody else can do it for you, but there are absolutely people who can help you. And there will always be moments of mess. There will always be opportunities and times to get stuck. The best intentions without actions or the right actions will often have us repeating some of those old or default behaviors. So it's okay to need some extra support along the way. And so what I want you to do right now is think about who your support network is. Think about who you could invite to be your accountability buddy for that one change, that one goal, that one vision that you have for yourself for this year. Maybe it's your spouse, maybe it's your best friend, maybe it's a parent, maybe it's one of your children. Maybe you decide that this is the year I'm going all in and you want to work with a coach. Great. The most important thing that you can do for yourself is choose to have regular check-ins with yourself. And be honest with those check-ins, but not hard on yourself. It's a choose your own adventure. You get to choose your path. So it's perfectly okay for you to reset and start again. Recalculate and take a new route. Redesign your plan and live it. You will always have these tools and your challenge workbook to support you along the way. So come back to the work that you've already started and lean back into it whenever you need it. So I've left a little bit of time and a little bit of space here for us today for some Q&A. So feel free to either unmute and chat if you would like. Please know that we are recording. So if you're not comfortable with that, then feel free to drop any questions that you might have about this process or about what you found in the chat box if that is preferred. So I'll leave you to think on that for a moment. Do you have any questions on what you've discovered or where you might go with it? Everybody is going to learn and grow at a different pace. Each and every one of you who is here in this community on this journey is doing your own thing, and that is exactly as it should be. Thank you for sharing that, Maureen. So instead of perhaps some questions, it was more of a what came up for you during this challenge. And for Maureen, she's realized through this how much she's let slide in regards to that self-care, in regards to prioritizing you. Very, very common for many of us, moms in particular, to choose the other people in our life first. Yeah. So I think the biggest challenge there, the first thing is amazing. Like, one, thank you so much for sharing that. Two, it's a very common default mode. And so investing in just a little bit of time every day, carving out some space in your week, but even in that sort of evening pre-bed ritual to reflect on the space and the time that you gifted for yourself that day. To reflect on the level of energy and the vibration that you have. And it's not wrong or bad for us to want to be there and support others. That in and of itself is a gift, but we can't do that from a state of empty or from a low vibration. And so building a little bit of time and space into your days, into your weeks, will have not only a positive impact for you, but on those that you care about. And often what we'll find is that even when we start to add more for us and we build up that muscle of self-care, if we don't have the boundaries in place, it still might not quite be enough to keep our energy stores up. So you may have some homework in both of those aspects. One, with the carving out more time for you, investing in the things that are important to you. But secondly, also building some of those boundaries so that you can protect that time and energy. Great reflection. I'd like to wrap up today with another intention setting. And I pulled 2 cards today from my favorite deck. Card 1, card 2. Card 1, card 2. Which one speaks to you? Which one is calling you? What's your go-to side? Sometimes you might not feel like one is calling you, but you naturally gravitate always to one side or the other. When you've picked your card, take a deep breath in and out. Card 1. Uniqueness is my power. I am unique. I am special. I am one of a kind. Perfectly imperfect, flaws and all. I celebrate my unique talents and those of others. I am unique. Now reflect for a moment on something that makes you magnificently unique. What makes you, you? How does that make you feel? How could you lean into that more? How could you celebrate your specialness? When unique is your power. Maybe you picked the second card. Here's what's speaking to you today. Intuition is my power. I am intuitive. I am insightful. I am aware. I clear my mind, open my heart, and I trust my inner guidance. I am intuitive. Take a breath and think of a time when you trusted your intuition wholeheartedly. How did that feel? And where could you lean in and gift yourself a little bit of trust today? Where could you believe and trust yourself a little bit more? Intuition. You all have it. It is a gift, but you need to learn, as my meditation coach will always say, to listen to the whispers. Trust your heart. Trust your gut. So whether you're celebrating your uniqueness today, or whether you're going to be leaning in to trust. I would like to encourage you to keep celebrating you. This is the last of our 3 sessions together. Though you may not be completely finished your 21-day challenge yet, I would encourage you to stick with it. Please keep following me on social media. If you would like to be included in newsletters that go out monthly, please do let me know. I would happily add you to that mail list. Again, it's no more than once a month. I'm not a big spammer, but I do want to help encourage you along the way. Happy scripting. Happy designing your best life and your best year, one day at a time. Take care, everybody.